What's going on with Manchester City this season? 3 wins in their last 15 games. It's been a nightmare, hasn't it? But even as things seem to be falling apart, there's one guy who's been holding it down. Erling Haaland, the big Scandinavian machine, has been that one bright spark in City's gloomy mess. So, how much of a difference has he actually made in this rough season? What new records has he smashed on his mission to stay unstoppable? Let's dive into it. But first, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Let's figure it out together. If you're a football fan, let's be honest, there's no way you saw this season playing out like this. 6th on the table by game week 20, sitting behind teams like Nottingham and Newcastle, losing big games. And now, you're probably even questioning City's chances of winning the league. It's been that kind of season. Injuries everywhere, key players misfiring, and nothing quite clicking the way it should. But through all the chaos, there's one constant: Erling Haaland. The guy just keeps on doing what he does best, scoring goals. While everyone seems to be talking about Liverpool and their main man Mohamed Salah, who's in insane form as always, Haaland's quietly keeping pace. By game week 20, Salah might be stealing the headlines, but Haaland is just 2 goals behind him. Think about it. Haaland has had to deal with fatigue and a boatload of defenders on his own. But even at that, he's already netted 16 goals in 20 league games and added another 6 in 5 Champions League appearances. The guy's a machine, and no matter how rough things have been for City this season, he's still finding a way to make an impact. Haaland is on track for his 3rd consecutive Golden Boot. And if he pulls it off this season, it'll be his most impressive win yet. Why? Because he's doing it while going head-to-head with a player many already consider a lock for the Ballon d'Or. And to that, the fact that Haaland's playing with a team with patchy service, and the challenge becomes even more remarkable. Salah has been in unstoppable form, lighting up the Premier League and reminding everyone why he's one of the best to ever do it. Yet there's Haaland, keeping pace and showing he's not ready to hand over that top scorer crown just yet. The question is, can he do it? Can he fend off Salah and secure the Golden Boot once again? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. But before we move on, have you hit the like and subscribe button yet? Go ahead, it only takes a second. Done? Great, let's keep going. The Norwegian stepping up for City this season feels less like teamwork and more like a one-man rescue mission. Even some fans are starting to call it out for what it is. One fan on X summed it up perfectly, tweeting, "Haaland literally carrying City with goals. If not for him, we would be buddies with Man United in 15th or something." And honestly, the tweet is not far off. Look at the numbers. As of game week 20, Haaland has scored an incredible 21 goals in all competitions. The next highest scorer for City, Phil Foden, with just 5. After that, it's Josko, a defender, with 4. Then you've got John Stones, Jeremy Doku, Nunes, Kovacic, and Silva, all sitting on 3 goals each. It's a massive drop-off after Haaland, which paints a clear picture. Without him, City's attack would lack bite. He's not just their leading scorer, he's the guy keeping them competitive in a tough season. But let's not pretend Haaland hasn't had his struggles this season. He's missed big chances, fluffed his line, and ghosted in big matches at some point this season. It's funny, because the Norwegian started the campaign in unstoppable form, banging in 10 goals in his first 5 Premier League matches. But after that, just 3 goals in the next 10. So what's been going on? If you ask me, it all comes down to one thing: service. There's no denying it. Man City just aren't as creative this season. Kevin De Bruyne, who was once the perfect partner for Haaland, has been battling the effects of age and fitness issues. It's hard to watch, especially when you remember how easily those two clicked 2 years ago. And then there's Gundogan, who hasn't been able to maintain the levels we've come to expect. De Bruyne's absence, in particular, has been a massive blow. He's the engine of City's creativity, the guy who could pick out Haaland with a pass that splits defences in half. Without him, it's like City have lost their spark. And to make matters worse, Phil Foden, another source of flair and invention, has been limited to just 1,053 minutes of Premier League football this season. The result? A less dynamic City attack, which means fewer chances for Haaland to do what he does best. The only player in the City squad who's really stepped up for Haaland this season, and it's a bit surprising, is Savinho. Even though the young winger has had his own struggles adjusting to life in the Premier League, he's managed to build a promising connection with Haaland. Between the collective dip in form from the rest of the team, Savinho's 3 assists so far for Haaland in key games against West Ham and Leicester have been enough to secure 6 crucial points for City. And it doesn't stop there. In matches against Arsenal and Prague, Savinho provided 2 more assists for Haaland. bringing their total to 5 in just 16 starts together. That's an assist every 3 games. A seriously impressive rate for a player still finding his feet at this level. In fact, creating goals for Haaland has accounted for the bulk of Savinho's 7 assists in a City shirt. The fans are also keying into the growing partnership. Social media is filled with comments like, "This Haaland and Savinho chemistry is a sight to behold." It's so obvious Haaland prefers playing with Savinho instead of Doku. Haaland would surely make human sacrifices to Odin to have Savinho in the starting lineup always. Apart from KDB, that's the only man that understands him. It does feel like Savinho is the only player that understands Haaland these days. When you compare the Brazilian's numbers to his rivals for a starting spot, it really highlights his contribution. Jack Grealish, for example, also has 5 assists for Haaland, but it's taken him 57 starts alongside the Norwegian to hit that mark. And he's had a lot more time to gel with the squad. Meanwhile, Doku, another of City's high-profile attackers, hasn't been able to assist Haaland even once in the 27 matches they've started together. The support from the wings might be drying up, but the record-breaking certainly isn't. At least not on Haaland's end. If there's one thing the Norwegian does better than anyone, it's rewriting the record books. This season, Haaland kicked off his tally of hat-tricks in style, bagging his first of the campaign in a 4-1 win over the newly promoted Ipswich Town, with one of those goals coming from the penalty spot. That marked his 7th Premier League hat-trick. His goals in that match against Ipswich carried even more significance. It completed his set of scoring against every single one of the 23 Premier League sides he had faced up to that point. In the very next game against West Ham United, Haaland did it again. Another hat-trick, this time in a 3-1 away win. That brought him level with Harry Kane as the active player with the most Premier League hat-tricks. Haaland's knack for hat-tricks is nothing short of ridiculous. He's already scored 8 in just 69 Premier League games, averaging a hat-trick every 8.6 matches. That's not just good, it's the best rate in Premier League history. To put that into perspective, the next closest player manages a hat-trick every 18.3 games, with 6 hat-tricks and 110 appearances. As if that wasn't enough, Haaland's hat-trick in the West Ham game also pushed Man City into uncharted territory. It meant City officially surpassed Liverpool as the club with the most hat-tricks in the Premier League history. But it doesn't end there with record-breaking. His 7 goals in his first 3 games smashed Edin Dzeko's record of 6 for the most goals in the opening 3 Premier League matches. Oh, and here's a fun one. He's the first player since a certain Paul Jewell for Bradford City way back in 94-95 to score 2 hat-tricks in the first 3 games of a season. And just when you thought he couldn't get any better, Haaland kept going. His 2 goals in a 2-1 win over Brentford meant he surpassed Wayne Rooney's record of 8 goals in the first 4 matches of the 2011-12 season. The guy's a machine. Plain and simple. While most players take time to settle into the groove of a new season, Haaland's out there breaking records like it's nothing. One more thing the Norwegian probably didn't realise, and it would have made his night even sweeter, is that just one more goal against Brentford would have put him in the history books again. He would have been the first player ever in Premier League history to score a hat-trick in 3 consecutive matches, after his hat-trick against Ipswich Town and West Ham in match weeks 2 and 3. But don't worry, he didn't stop breaking records. In match week 5, during a home game against Arsenal, Haaland found the net again. That goal not only tied Wayne Rooney's record of 9 goals in the first 5 matches of a Premier League season, but it also stood miles ahead of anyone else in Europe's top 5 leagues. For context, the next best player had just 5 goals in 4 games. Haaland, he was sitting comfortably on 9. And the goal against Arsenal wasn't just another stat for the season, it was historic. It marked Haaland's 100th goal in all competitions for Man City. Let that sink in. 100 goals in just 105 games since joining from Borussia Dortmund in the summer of 2022. And guess who he shares the record with? None other than the legend of the red half of Manchester, Cristiano Ronaldo himself, sitting at the same table as Premier League legends like Ronaldo and Rooney when it comes to smashing records is wild. But here's one thing, Haaland's achievements don't seem to always get the credit they deserve. Some people still see him as a mediocre footballer who gets lucky with service. Is there any truth to that? Is Haaland just about simple finishes? Or does he deserve to be mentioned amongst the greats? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Whatever the opinion is though, one thing's for sure. If there's a record to break, Haaland's gonna break it. Take this one for example. Since joining Man City at the start of the 22-23 season, Haaland has scored more headed goals in the Premier League than anyone else, with 14 to his name. His 14th header came in City's 4-1 win against West Ham, and it was yet another reminder of how complete a striker he is. And not just in the Premier League, Haaland's aerial dominance extends across Europe's top 5 leagues too. Only Harry Kane, with 19 headers since the start of the 22-23 season, has managed more. Haaland also has the distinction of being the only Premier League player since the start of the 22-23 season to score 10+ goals with his left foot, 10+ goals with his right foot, and 10 with his head. And you know what else? Haaland has been absolutely dominant in open play. Since the start of the last season, he's scored the most open-played Premier League goals, racking up an incredible 33 by game week 20 of the 24-25 season. The next closest player is sitting on 26. That gap says everything about just how consistent and clinical Haaland has been. What makes it even more impressive is the context. He's done all of this while playing regularly in a City squad that sold Julian Alvarez and didn't bother bringing in a backup striker. What that means is that the entire burden of leading the line has been on Haaland's shoulders. And let's not forget the team's dynamics. He's also been working with a certain Jack Grealish, who, believe it or not, hasn't scored a single goal since 2024. The consequences of all this means Man City is 6th on the table after week 20 and 22nd in the Champions League rankings. But you know what? It could probably have been a total disaster if not for one Scandinavian. In a squad where Josko is the second highest scorer in the league, Haaland is doing more than just scoring goals. He's keeping City alive this season. There you have it, Erling Haaland, the undeniable bright spot in what's been a rough season for Manchester City. But what do you think? Can Haaland's heroics carry City to a strong finish this season? Or is this campaign destined to be a write-off for the defending champions? And with all his contributions, does Haaland deserve more credit as one of the most complete forwards in the world right now? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, don't stop there. Click on the next video for another exciting deep dive into the world of football. You won't want to miss it. See you there.